Welcome to the Get Together! Woo! It's our show about ordinary people building extraordinary communities. I'm your host, Bailey Richardson. I'm a partner at People & Company and a co-author of Get Together, How to Build a Community with Your People.
And I'm Marjorie Anderson, Get Together correspondent, founder of Community by Association, and product manager for community at Project Management Institute.
In each episode of this podcast, we interview everyday people who have built extraordinary communities about just how they did it. How did they get the first people to show up? How did they grow to hundreds, maybe even thousands more members? Today, we're talking to Jodianne Beckford, founder of Noire Girls Plant. Noire Girls Plant's mission is to create a community of growers in aspects such as health, prosperity, and nature by providing resources that cater to healing and maintaining our mental health through the caretaking of plants. Marjorie, this is one of the three folks that you chose to interview on the podcast, so someone I know you are very passionate about. What's one thing that you learned from our conversation today with Jodianne? What did you take away from it?
The biggest thing I took away from the conversation with Jodianne is that you only need to start in order to find your people and bring them together with their people. Your community isn't rocket science, but it takes passion and the desire to care for others to really create experiences that cultivate a sense of belonging. And Jodianne was looking for that in her own life, so she created it. And it turns out that others were looking for it too. So I guess the big thing to remember is don't be afraid to start the community you're looking for.
Yeah, that really stood out to me from the conversation as well, and how much courage Jodianne showed to do that herself. So I can't wait to share that with everyone. You ready? Should we jump in?
Let's do it.
Woohoo!
Thank you so much for joining us today, Jodianne. It is a pleasure to have you on the show today. Really looking forward to talking with you a little bit more about Noire Girls Plant.
Thank you so much, Marjorie. I'm so excited. And honestly, thank you so much for inviting me on your show. I'm really, really excited.
Awesome. So take us back to the moment you felt the pull to create the community for Noire Girls Plant. What was it that was going on for you that really pulled you or created a specific moment in time that really led you to feel like you needed to create this experience in this community?
So it's so interesting that you call it a community in the sense of like thinking of like when or why I wanted to do it. Because for me, it wasn't my intention. I honestly just wanted to do something that felt good. I wanted to kind of feel again. I was in a really low point in my life. And I had just kind of discovered plants and how they were just making me feel good. They weren't necessarily like fixing me in a sense, but they were just something that was essentially just bringing me joy. So I wanted to see if there was an event, and this was last year, 2019, around like September-ish. I wanted to know if there was an event that talked about plants and your mental health, or just something where I could just commune with other men and women of color talking about plants, because I'm a nerd. So I went on Eventbrite and I asked people, and like there wasn't anything that I could find. And then so I talked to a friend about it, and she said, "Oh, why don't you do an event?" And I'm like, no. And then she's like, "Well, if you can't find one, just do it. You've done an event before." So I was like, okay, but like no one's gonna come. Like I can't even find an event that talks about this. So like, who knows anyone's gonna want to come to an event like this? So right. I listened to her, blindly just did everything, created the event. I added everything that I essentially selfishly would want at the event. So a plant, everyone got a plant. I wanted a goodie bag that was stacked with like, wellness products. I wanted to have yoga. I wanted to have guided meditation, a spoken word piece performed by an artist. Like I wanted literally like everything. But at the end of it, I just wanted people to have fun and just be able to see each other in that space as people of color being vulnerable, because we don't tend to get to be vulnerable a lot of times, or we're not seen as vulnerable, I should say, actually. So that's kind of why I did the event. And then I guess long story short, it naturally became a community. So because after the event, people reached out to me and asked me when I was going to do another one. So it just gradually turned into, I guess, a thing. And I kept doing events after that one, not as big because I had a lot of anxiety after that first event, to be honest. So I decided to kind of condense it and make it a little bit smaller. So I went from doing the 30, I had about 30 to 40 women in the first one, to kind of condensing it to about 15 women. And men were welcome. It just so happened that it was mainly women. So when I had did the second event, it was about 10 to 15 women. And again, we still had the guided meditation and we still had a lot of the things from the first one, but it was just smaller and more intimate. And it that I guess became my community. It was, and even now saying it out loud, it is actually very strange saying, like, thinking that I have a community, because I never thought I could be someone that would, I guess, be a part of like creating a community, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. I always hear people say, if you want to create something, think about a problem you're trying to solve. And I'm like, okay, but I don't want to solve a problem. I just want to feel, I want to feel good about something. Right. And so we create these experiences in order to help us feel better, not knowing that there's a whole bunch of other people who needed exactly the same thing that you needed. So this is, I think the approach and how it just kind of organically came to be, because you were looking for something and there were other people out there looking for that exact same thing, is really interesting to hear.
Yeah, it's weird. It's still kind of, it's very strange to me just because I don't know, I've always felt like an outsider. So it's kind of cool and it feels good to know that like I'm a part of creating something.
Yeah, that's a pretty amazing feeling in and of itself. So tell me about that first time you brought everyone together. I know that when we were talking, you were like, "Yeah, I'm gonna design this in a way that I would want to feel. These are all the things that I would want." And I remember you telling me that you were like, "No one's gonna show up. I'm not gonna show." So tell me about that first event, people coming, and what was that like for you to see people show up for something that you created that was really meant to help you? How did that make you feel knowing that they also needed that space and you created that for them?
Honestly, I want to say it's indescribable, but it actually almost is very indescribable. It was like, it felt honestly amazing. I did, like, as we said, like we spoke before, like I truly did not think I was going to sell more than 10 tickets. The ticket prices were about 30, no, $30. And for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so expensive. Like at the time, because I'm like I've paid more for events, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm not known as a person that throws events like this. So I don't know if anyone's gonna like trust me with their money and know that they're gonna get, A, B, and C and so on. So when I sold out and then I had to actually have a wait list and add a couple more, that was
Woohoo!
insane. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
That was insane. And I sold out within, I'm going to say within 3 weeks. So I had posted the event. I gave myself a month prior just to kind of give people a heads up time to whatever, if they had to figure things, if they could attend. And within the first 2 weeks, I sold 25 tickets. And then the last week and a half or so, I sold the remainder. Plus, I had to add additional tickets. So that was like surreal for me. And I was like, okay, the pressure's on. I have to make sure this event is like really, really, really special. So I definitely went above and beyond and I reached out to The Ordinary. I had a friend that did marketing there, so he had got me some products. So they had sponsored me some of their serums. I had reached out to a couple of local businesses that also sponsored some of their stuff for the bags. So it was stacked. Like the goodie bags were probably valued at honestly about probably $350. And then I had done like a brunch style. So we had like waffles made on site and like a whole charcuterie board and like drinks and wine. Like we had like it was a whole vibe. And so it was really important for me that everyone felt like they were home when they got there. And that's the whole reason why I wanted to do the homemade waffles. I didn't want to like just have waffles out of a box. Like I wanted to make them like in front of them. And then when the woman came, the first woman came, she came in and I was like, first I was like, is she lost? I don't know why, but I was like, okay, this is
Excuse me,
her
ma'am,
face
can I help
actually.
you?
I'm like, can I help you? I'm like, so this is real. Like, people are coming. Like, you're a real person behind the ticket. So she came in. I said, hi, I'm Jodianne. And she was so excited. I literally just, I'm a crier. So I was like holding back tears because she like was like, oh my gosh. And she hugged me right away. Like, this was pre-COVID, obviously. And she hugged me and she's like, I'm so excited to be here. I follow you on Instagram and da-da-da-da. And I'm just like, what? This is weird. I was like, okay, thank you so much for coming. I gave her some wine and water, and she sat down and waited, and then more women kept coming in, and I'm just like, wow, this is so cool. So I know I said earlier it was indescribable, but clearly it's not. I'm describing everything. So
Indescribable, but let me describe it to
let
you.
me describe it anyways. So honestly, it's a great feeling. Like, seeing that first person come in was very overwhelming, but it kind of reassured me that like what I'm doing is the right thing and I'm on the right path, even though I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And I still kind of don't know what I'm doing, but I'm fumbling through it, but I'm enjoying the journey.
And that's part of it, right? I mean, just figuring it out along the way. I mean, the biggest hurdle is to just start, and then as you really understand the needs of the people that are gathering with you, then you build that experience with them. You know, I think it's awesome that you're figuring it out that way.
Thank you. And honestly, also what made it really special is that my mom was there. She attended as well. And so she got to see me from at home planning like crazy to seeing the end result of it. And she was like so proud and like, I'm not gonna cry. I say I'm not gonna cry, so I don't cry. But like that in itself was like so special to me for my mom to see, like, because she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, you'll see. Just
She's like,
wait. Just
you're
wait.
being weird, Jodianne. What's
Right?
happening?
And my mom is West Indian. She's from Jamaica, so like older generation. So the whole thought process of like entrepreneurship in a sense of like, oh, that's all you're gonna do, or even planning an event. She's like, so you're getting paid for this? I'm like, no. She's like, so why are you doing it? So it's like that mentality kind of thing. So for her to see like what I was able to do and then hear the conversations, and my mom did yoga. My mom has never done yoga in her entire life, and she actually participated. And I was like, literally, like I was like, wow, and she was enjoying it. I was like, oh my god, mom, you're a yogi. I can't. Like, it was so amazing. So that was probably my biggest highlight out of everything that day is having my mom there witness all of that.
So what did others in attendance, like were there things that some of the attendees did or said that really helped you realize that there was a there, right? Like you were like, I'm on to something. This is something that people need, and I really want to continue to try to cultivate this. Was is there What were the reactions of the attendees, or is there a specific moment where you really knew that you kind of had lightning in a bottle?
So there's actually two moments. Actually, no, there's two main ones that stick out to me. The first one is when we were having the conversations about just what plants have done for our mental health and just how we've been able to use them kind of to relate to our own lives, and it kind of helps us slow down and things like that. Like a few of the women talked about that, but one specific girl, she said that plants literally saved her life, and like gardening and just also being able to do that with her mom, which I resonated with because like that's kind of how my journey started, was with doing it with my mom. And even as a young child, we've always had plants in the house. I just never paid them any mind. I always thought my mom was weird because she would talk to them, and I just was like, okay. But as I got older, I understood it. So that was really special to like be in a room full of women that looked like me, that really was like, just, I don't know, it was just, they were just resonating. So we were all resonating with one another so much. So that was really special. But another moment that happened that could have been negative, but it ended up being very positive. Um, so a woman that attended, it was a white woman that attended, and this was honestly open to everybody. It wasn't just specific only to women of color. I had advertised it like that, but I wanted anyone to come because I had a couple of friends message me that weren't people of color, and I said, yeah, for sure, come, buy a ticket. But I think a couple of them just weren't able to make it. So a woman attended, her and her daughter. So they were the only white people that were there, but they were comfortable, they were fine. She was really sweet, but there was something that she brought up that was very interesting to me. So, and a few people there. So the studio that we hosted the event was owned by a Black woman in Pickering. So it's called Moto Yoga. So Moto Yoga Pickering, because Moto's like all over the world, but they have different, like, I guess, locations. So she's owned it for about 10 years now. And this lady that came, she has been going there for about, I think, 7 years, but she had no idea it was owned by a Black woman. So she found out that day. And so when she was actually like, oh, like, who, like, do you know the owner? And I was like, yeah, she's right there. And she's like, and she said to me, and she's like, that's the owner? And I was like, yeah, Tanya. I'm like, she's like, yeah, I've seen her at the front desk. I thought she just worked here. And I said, no, 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 she's the owner. And then she's like, really? Are you sure? And it was the questioning after, like, the reassurance. She asked me about 5 times. And I said, yeah, she's the owner. And she's like, for how long? I'm like, for like 10 years. And she's like, huh. So then she's like, does she have another job? Like, she just kept going. She just like, does she have another job? And I was like, no, no, no. Like, she's the owner. This is her full time. Like, this is her business. And she's like, she almost couldn't grasp that it was, and I was trying to figure if she couldn't grasp that it was owned by a Black woman, or she couldn't grasp that I don't know, a woman could own it, and then this is it, right?
Yeah.
So that was very interesting. Could have been a very negative experience, but the highlight, I guess the light in all of that is that after she asked me that, I mean, she did ask for other people as well, which is kind of annoying. But then I guess the light in it and all, her daughter, what I think really surprised me, and like what was so special and amazing to me. Her daughter was probably about 11 years old, and she came up to me and she goes, I really like this event. Thank you so much. And I was like, you're welcome. And then she said, no, I really, really like it. Like, I didn't know that, like, I don't want to be rude, but I didn't know that, like, Black, she basically Black people like this stuff, because she didn't know, like, she doesn't really have a lot of Black friends. Like, she was just, and it was very innocent to me because she was just very curious, and she's like 10, 11. So I said, yeah, like, we love this stuff too. Like, I'm so happy you're here. She ate the food. She spoke with almost every single person there. And even engaged in the conversation when we talked about being being people of color that maybe don't always see ourselves represented in this space of wellness. And she was like asking questions. She was genuinely so interested. Her mom was very quiet, but the daughter was asking a lot of questions, and she hugged everybody, and she's like, thank you so much. And I could have left that conversation like being very, like, annoyed and angry and just not even want to talk to any of them. But I was like very trying to just not let that ruin the day, and trying to have my mind open to, okay, maybe she just really can't, I don't know, she just doesn't think it's owned by a Black woman. But trying not to make that a negative experience, but then seeing how her daughter reacted, I think just it made me feel like, okay, this is definitely necessary, because, like, kids don't even realize that we belong in this space.
I think something that's really important for people to remember about Noire Girls Plant is that it's not just about plants, right? It's not like, hey, do you like a nice hosta? Come and join us at our next meetup. It's it's not that. It's not just about that. It's really about healing and growth as well. So, can you talk to us a little bit about how this kind of community of growers, in every sense of the word, supports one another?
Wow, I've never actually heard it's like, I've never had that question asked before, so that's very interesting. I would say definitely it's not just about plants. Mental health is a huge, huge part of it. And I guess for me, I connect with plants in a way where I look at them as they're me. So I care for them. Each time I care for them, I take it as a note as I'm taking care of myself. So even when I have events that specifically cater to that, where we talk about plants and mental health, I really want to press that, take the time to remember to water yourself, to take care of yourself. Like, be careful with yourself, be patient with yourself. You're not gonna, like, reach all your goals at once. You're not gonna, like, hit everything in a week or a month or a year. It takes time for great things to grow and gradually blossom. So I really try to push that, and I think people have really appreciated that at events. because it's a really, plants honestly are such a great reminder of that. And one specific activity that we do at one of my rooted events, and also I do it at my grounded one, is that whenever we're repotting a plant, I have this biodegradable dissolvent paper. It's eco-friendly. So I get everyone to write an affirmation or a goal on the paper, and then they plant it into the plant. So when they water the plant, the paper dissolves right away. So it's kind of like that plant is their goal plant or their affirmation plant for themselves, as they as a reminder, like a visual reminder of their growth. And if you want to go dark for a second, like if the plant happens to die, it's not like the end. It's not the final. It's just that goal has passed on, and you're still able to set new goals going forward. So that's kind of, I don't know if hopefully I answered your question properly, but that's kind of how I see it.
So it's really a lesson in self-care and being gentle with yourself, and helping to get others to see that and help each other realize that, it's okay. Life is not always going to be it's not always going to be how we want it, but be gentle with yourself.
Exactly. Especially when the plant passes on, or like sometimes it's not you. Like sometimes the plant just maybe didn't have stable roots, which sometimes the same with us. Like sometimes when we set a goal, we don't sometimes set proper things to set us up to be able to achieve that goal because we're rushing. And then sometimes it doesn't happen like it's supposed to. But just keep trying and look back. Okay, what did I do wrong? Like what, and not do wrong, but what did I do? What could I have done to change things a little bit differently? And then you just keep stepping forward. Because I feel like we get a lot of pressure, especially being a plant parent, that if I kill a plant, I'm a bad plant person, or I'm a plant killer. No one is a plant killer. You just have to, maybe you just it needed something that you couldn't have given it. It just was its time to go. So same with us. Just being more patient, being okay. If a goal doesn't pass, then it's fine. Just keep trying.
I just want to say that I really appreciate you making all of these notes about it's okay if a plant doesn't make it, just on a personal level. So I appreciate that. No one said that to me before, so thank you.
No worries. It's true though. Like we get so, and you know what, I got so, and I have anxiety. So when I first RIP'd my first plant, I was so sad and so upset. But
Hmm.
I learned, I'm like, no, it's okay. Like I have how many, I have like 40, 50 other plants that are living. It's that I can't focus on that one downfall. Like it just was its time to go. Focus on all the other amazing things that you have. So yeah.
Hmm.
Jodianne, I feel like you're preaching a word right now. I feel like I needed to hear that, and I appreciate you for that.
Oh, anytime.
So, to talk to us about discovery, I mean, there's this beautiful thing that Noire Girls Plant is doing for people,
Oh.
and I can't imagine that someone is missing out on this intentionally. So, how do people find you? How do they know about Noire Girls Plants events in the community?
Well, the first, I mean, you can follow me on Instagram, Noire with the E, Girls Plant. I also I always ask people to sign up for my newsletter. So that really helps people stay in touch with, be the first to know basically about the events, anything that's coming up, that like if I'm launching soil, like anything new product I'm launching, the newsletter is literally your first guide to that. But follow me on Instagram. I have a website, www.noiregirlsplant.com. You can find me there as well. But the best way I would say is my newsletter through my Instagram. And I also have a Facebook fan page. Well, not fan page. I hate that word. Like page.
So then people just kind of come to you word of mouth, or do they see maybe a collaboration that you're doing with someone, and they're like, oh, I really need to dig deeper into what Noire Girls Plant is about, or is it really organic growth? No pun intended.
I know. I was like, I see what you did there. You're so funny. You know what? It's literally been organic growth. Honestly, I'm gonna say, yeah, it's been organic growth, because when I started the page, like I don't like no one really knew what I was doing, or I guess who I was. I mean, people still don't really know who I am. I'm using heavy quotations, like you can see me, but I would say it's word of mouth. When those first group of women came to my first event, then after people posting about that, I had video done for that event. So I had a lot of content to repost and share. And then the people that attended also like, told other people about it. So that's really all it really was word of mouth, to be honest. And I guess that's, yeah, organic growth.
Holy wow, that's like a unicorn situation when it comes to community. It was
It,
all organic.
it was all
That's
literally.
amazing. Like, I love that. And then, you know, there will be people who are like, but it'll just come together. Like, you got to do a little bit more work. So,
You got a
um,
little sweat in there, a little sweat, dirt, get in there, get messy. But honestly, like it's so cliche for you to hear when like, yeah, I just grew organically, like, just be yourself. But legit, just be yourself.
so you're a year in now. Like, you're a year in with Noire Girls Plant. And just as you are getting started and you're building momentum and things are starting to chug along, the
Mhm.
world's like, here's the pandemic, enjoy. So how are you pivoting during these times and keeping things going with folks who are really engaged with Noire Girls Plant?
Pivoting, I would say, honestly, online events. Online events have been this new thing that I was scared of because I'm like the connection isn't going to be there, but I've been able to pivot to doing some online events for the even the repotting. I had partnered with my friend Rebecca Price. She has a company called I Rise Yoga. Amazing, amazing woman. And so she does a Mother's Day event every year in person, but obviously because of Rona, we had to do it online. So, or she had to do it online. So she asked me to join her. And so I had done the portion, it was the plant. So I did the repotting. We put the packages together. We hand delivered every one of the packages. Luckily, they were all Toronto. So it wasn't like someone ordered, like someone bought a ticket from like Vancouver, because that would have been, I don't know, we'd have to figure that out. Um, but that's one way I've been able to pivot is doing some of the events online. And then when things kind of opened up again, I was able to do them in person again. But again, with social distancing and limited numbers, I had to really keep it at like 10 max. Oh, no, not 10, 8 max. And then me and usually another person that are hosting together, that makes us 10 altogether. So it's definitely a lot smaller of a group, but it's still special. It's still, um, goes well. So that's been really good. And I've also been able to do hikes. So the hikes that I organize are free. We meet at a location at a conservation, and we go for a hike. I've usually done about 15 to 20 people. And it's been great. That in itself, I think, has really kept me going because hiking is something I basically started doing this year. I never used to walk, or I mean, I walked. How am I saying? I walked, but I didn't like hike or like go for long walks ever before. So COVID definitely allowed me, or I guess forced me to do it. And then I had just made a post one day, is anyone want to go on a hike with me? And people said, yeah, sure. And that's how that started. So I've been doing hikes. I've done about four, and I'm doing the last one actually this coming Sunday.
That's fascinating. So for these hikes, are these just people getting together and you're just hiking just for a little bit of connection? Is there something that you also do with these hikes, or is it literally just to help people feel a little bit closer to one another in a socially distanced way, and really kind of experience the nature that's around them to help keep them centered?
The last part, yes. Yes, on it literally. I we just like the first one I did, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Like everything I do, I never know what I'm doing. I'm just like, hey, wanna go on a hike with me? I made a post and people said yes. I'm like, cool, meet me here. So it was very just a word of mouth thing. And then the second time I did, I'm like, let me make this a little bit more legit. So I made an Eventbrite, and I limited the numbers, and I put the whole COVID rules in there. And they came, we literally just, I said thank you so much for coming, and we started walking. Like that's it. And it's amazing that the simplest thing that we think like, oh, no one's going to want to go on a walk with me, or no, we're just walking outside. But there's something really special about being outside in nature, especially in a time where we feel so confined. At the time too, we felt so confined to our homes. So being outside in nature was something that was very comforting for a lot of people. And you got to meet some people you probably never met before. Um, and I always tried to choose locations that was close to the water. So we would, have moments where we'd stop by by the river, and we'd kind of like stick our feet in when it was warmer at the time, and just kind of just like chill. Like sometimes we wouldn't even talk. We would just like all find our own little spot and just like take in nature. So that's been really, really special. And then this last one that I'm doing, I'm going to giving everyone a little treat from me, like a little surprise from partnering with a crystal company, one of my good friends, Sandra 808. So she's going to be providing me with some of her products, and then everyone that signed up will get a free gift as a thank you for, like, I guess, journeying with me throughout these hikes.
This is some really special stuff that you're doing with Noire Girls Plant. And the more that I hear about it, the more like it just fills me with such joy. And I'm not even actively participating in what you're doing.
Oh, thank
So
you.
but I would love to hear what this community has meant to you and to your community members, and in the time that you've been up and running, and the events that you have been able to hold events and bring people together. Do you have any stories, either from your own personal self or from others, who that really kind of show what that impact has been, either for you or for other people?
Wow. Okay. So honestly, Nora Girls Plant has literally, literally saved my life. Like, no, not even exaggerating. Because when I started it, it was just something I just wanted to share, that plants are making me feel something again. And throughout this whole journey, like, I've met so many amazing people that I don't think I would have had met, if it wasn't for creating this in my saddest moments. So it's definitely made me a stronger person. It's showed me that I'm actually, when I put my mind to something, I can actually accomplish things, as much as I may procrastinate or complain or whatever. It's really shown me like like, I guess, my resilience in a way. And even with other people, like the people that I've met, I've had messages from people reaching out to me just saying, thank you so much, like this has done so much for me, you have no idea. And even literally recently, someone messaged me and said that, um the last event that I did, the in-person one, she said that it's given her skill sets that she didn't realize that she needed, and she's been searching for something for so long, and after leaving the event, she found it. And I was like, that's insane. Like, I was like, I wow, like that made me cry.
It's pretty impactful. And how do you feel knowing that, born from something that you personally needed, you have helped fulfill something for so many people? Like, how does that sit with you?
It's strange. It's really strange, and it's hard to grasp, to be honest, because I've never seen myself as a influential person. I grew up not thinking I was intelligent at all, because teachers, that's what they told me. I was not smart. So I I struggle with that a lot. I struggle with a lot of self doubt, a lot of self sabotage. I struggle with wondering if I'm intellectual enough and if I can be in certain rooms and so on. So having any type of impact on anyone is, it means a lot to me. Like, more than money, more than fame, like more than anything, it means everything.
Yeah, I can hear it in your voice. I definitely can hear how much that means to you. Um, but I wanna dig a little deeper into something, because during an earlier conversation that you and I had, we were talking about how you were shocked to know that there were so many other Black men and women who were looking for belonging in this space, not only in the space of plants and being connected to them, but healing, that weren't getting that visibility. And I think that when you don't see it, it's hard for you to know that there's anything out there for you. So, what would you say to other folks who are seeking community, but it feels like there isn't one there for them?
Create your own. Like, I feel like as simple as that. Like, create your own. Like, create something that you would want that you'd want to see. And if you can't find it, just like me, like I couldn't find it and I still doubted myself, but I did it. And like, if you can't find something that's out there that you want to be a part of, create it yourself. And I'm telling you, the right people will be drawn to you. Like, it's just the power of God. Like that's honestly the most I could say, is that the right people will always come to you. No matter how small or little impact you think you're going to have, you're going to have an impact. Even if it's just one person that reaches out to you that's interested in something you created, that's still one more person than no one.
That's for sure. And communities get created sometimes by, and I've heard Bailey talk a little bit about this sometimes in some of the other podcasts that she's done, but, finding community sometimes begins with creating what you're looking for. And
Mm-hmm.
then next thing you know, there's a whole bunch of other people who were looking for the same thing that you were looking for and they just hadn't started. So it just takes
Literally.
that, you're the spark in that respect. You started the fire and now it's going. And I think that's pretty beautiful.
Thank you. And I have to also credit not only God, but I have to credit Solange.
Thank
Oh
you,
my God,
Solange.
amazing. Amazing clip.
Shout out to Solange.
Shout out to my big sister Solange. I'm telling you, that woman is amazing. And when she said create your own damn table, I'm like, yes, Solange, yes, I will. I'll do it.
For
So
sure.
and one little brief quick story about my love for Solange, obsession kind of. I actually met her I went to a concert. Well, in my mind, I met her. And I went to a concert of her, and I was like at the front row, this underground kind of thing. And I had made a break. I was doing jewelry at the time, and I actually waved my hand like a maniac in the audience because I was close enough to her, and to let her know like this is for her. And she took it and she put it on and wore it throughout the whole show. So that's my Solange moment.
Oh, that's called meeting her for sure.
Okay, okay.
100%. Yeah, don't hold back on that. Yeah.
And she looked right into my eyes, like, I
Yes.
think this. I was like,
Yes. Yes. Eye contact, you met her. I wanted to ask a question. This like goes back a little bit to something you said in the beginning of the interview. I've had pretty bad anxiety as well.
Mm,
And just hearing you talk about uh, hosting this event with anxiety and also with self-doubt, and then also adding in how important it is to make your own table. um, this is quite a personal question, but I was just wondering, like, how did you have the strength to put such a beautiful event on? While it sounds like you were just dealing with a lot of adversity, is there? I think a lot of times people find themselves in a state of need for a community, maybe when they're already feeling just like at a low point.
mm.
And so it sounds like you kind of found strength in that moment. And I was just wondering if there's any light you could shed on that.
It's funny that you asked that specific question because I actually had to answer that question a few months ago throughout like a branding session with my cousin. And I actually discovered something, and we talked about my first event. It's so creepy that you're saying that you asked that specific question, but like amazing creepy, obviously. um, I realized I didn't want to disappoint the something that sounds so weird. I didn't want to disappoint the little me. Because I feel like growing up, I was so I felt not seen, and I felt like I was always told no, 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 and I can't do this, I'm not smart. And I felt like I had to do this event for the younger, like my past self, so she could see me now as someone that's thriving. And even though I'm
Hmm.
struggling, I'm still pushing through, and I'm not listening to those voices of like, you can't do this, or like you're not good enough. So like I had to literally force myself every day up until the day of that event to get out of bed and to like plan and execute. And it was hard. Like it was
Yeah, that sounds
really,
hard.
really hard. Like there's days, like even the morning of the event, I'm like, okay, I'm not going. And then I was like, I can't not go. And then every time I literally had a moment of like, I can't do this, I would think of myself. Like, don't disappoint yourself. Like, just do it and don't disappoint. You don't want to disappoint all the women that are coming as well. So that kind of kept me going. But I think I discovered what made me really push to do that was thinking of like my younger self and wanting her to see like it gets better. Like you turn out okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm wondering too. One of my friends runs this basketball team for women who are bad at basketball in New York City, and I've played with it a number of times, and it's just wonderful. It's such a wonderful space, but it takes such serious devotion. You know, she's there like every week hosting, and kind of doesn't travel so she can do that. And I remember asking her if she ever got tired of it, and she said that this thing that she does, hosting practice, gives her energy. And so she keeps thinking maybe she'll stop, but then it's so generative for her that she just naturally keeps going. And I was wondering, you know, does that feel familiar to you as well? And thinking about how important it is to make an event that you would want to go to. You know, it seems very important if you're starting a community to do something that you enjoy doing, whether or not it's super popular or not, because if you want to keep going, if you want to build meaningful relationships around something, you have to stick with it. But yeah. How has it been sort of since the launch? Like, what keeps you going?
Honestly, I think my mom as well keeps me going because my mom is someone that I feel like she has sacrificed so much for all of us, and I'm the youngest, so I'm the youngest of like 7. But like from like all of us put together because different parents at times, but still my mom has been with all of us for so long and like done so much for us, and just seeing her strength and seeing like the sacrifices that she's had to make in order for us to have, I guess, our dreams come true. I think that really does push me. I'm like that's a lot of sacrifice. Like that's your life. So I'm like, I also don't want to disappoint her. And I want her to see that like, even though, you know, I was doubted as a child, I want her to see that like, as I'm struggling through this, I'm still going to push through. I'm still going to keep going. Yeah.
Go moms. They're really helpful for showing us that like you can do so much with grit. You know, I know
Oh
so
yeah.
many moms have made it through so much difficulty.
So and I honestly respect my mom. I didn't understand my mom at all when I was younger. I respect her now that I can say like I'm a woman now. I'm like, wow, yeah, you did a lot. Because I was like, think my mom and I didn't always get along growing up, and I never understood like as a woman like what she could have been going through. Because we just think our parents are parents. Our parents don't even have names. They're just mom and dad. They don't have emotions. They don't have feelings in that sense. Like they don't like like any of that stuff. Like we don't even think about that for them. But as a woman, I'm like, holy crap, you are phenomenal. You are resilient. Like you did a lot to get to where you are. So I have so much more respect for my mom as a woman now that I understand that she has feelings and like she reacts to things the way she does because of what she's been through.
So as we look along, if we look at what this journey has been for you, what do you wish that you would have known before you started? Or what are you glad that you've learned along this journey that you will take with you into the future as you continue to build Noire Girls Plant?
I guess I want to take with me that I don't know, it's gonna sound so like corny, but like I feel like I would take that I can literally do, or we can literally do anything we put our minds to. We're a lot stronger and we're a lot more resilient than we give ourselves credit for. As much as we go through the anxiety and the depression, each time, and I heard someone say this recently, I wish I can remember who said it, but they said each time you go through depression or your anxiety, you make it through, you're building that muscle, like you're getting stronger and stronger every time. But like the fact that you've pushed past all those that darkness and you're still here, he's like you are a superhero, like you're so strong, because that takes a lot of people don't get to have that moment of like continuing on. So I would say definitely I take away that like when I put my mind to something, I know I'm gonna do it, or I know I can do it with help. I can't do everything by myself, um, but it kind of gives me hope to know that, like, okay, as much as I may, like, things may be really hard, at the end of the day, I'm going to push through. And I feel like this community has also taught me that you don't have to do everything yourself. Like, there are people out there that are also struggling with the same things you are, and you find that out by creating community, or by being a part of community. You get to meet, like-minded people. You get to meet people that are also struggling but are also pushing through and also being resilient. So I feel like if I didn't create this, I wouldn't know a lot of the people that I've met, and I've become really good friends. Like, I have lifelong friendships now with some of the people that I've met. I hope that
And
answers the question.
it did, and I think there's something really important that you said in that, and it's that we are not intended to do this life alone, right? Community is essential to, and connection is essential to our well-being. And I had a conversation with someone last week when we were talking about the power of connection, and when we feel like there's no one around, right? Like, I know that there are times when I'm like, you know what, I just need somebody to put a hand out and just pull me up off the floor a little bit. And it's because we are wired to have connection. It is essential to our well being. So I guess, all that to say that what you're doing with Noire Girls Plant is on a level that's so much deeper than maybe even the people who are participating, and maybe even you might realize that the connection that you're creating, not only to nature but to other people, is essential to our well-being and essential to living. And to me, that just sat so heavy on my heart because I never realized it that way. Right? You think of, I know I can do this thing on my own, I don't need anybody's help. And then when you feel incredibly lonely and you're like, where's the help? It's in that moment that you realize that the help is always there. You just need to ask for it and to seek it. And I think that's incredibly important. And I think that's a great thing and a great message that Noire Girls Plan is helping to deliver. So if you were to look 5 years down the line, 2 years down the line, 5 years is a long way away. I mean, especially with 2020, 5 years feels like it's already happened. But if
We're
you
in 2030 right
I
now.
know, I know. Happy fifth year 2020 anniversary. That's where we're at right now. Um, so if you look just a couple years down the line, if you look at the future of what Noire Girls Plant could be, you may not have a clear vision for it. Maybe you want it to just shape itself. But what do you hope to see happening for this community in the future?
Honestly, I want it to be a community just that not only just comes to, like, the event itself, but I want people to stay to connected with one another. I want lifelong friendships to be made with people. I want retreats. I definitely see retreats in the future. I want to be able to do a week-long retreat. I think would be really special, because I think there's something special about just being with people for a certain amount of time overnight and just, like, connecting on, almost like when you're back when you were kids, camping kind of thing. Like, I just think there's something really special about that. And there's a book in the future. Definitely there's a book. And I want to do self-care kits, which I'm going to be launching soon, actually. But overall, I just want the community to just be known for connection and support, because I think support is huge. Sometimes we just need someone to talk to, or we just need to know that we can reach out to somebody. Therapy is very important, but I just think that having a community of people that that will be there for you as well is really special. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. But yeah.
Well, I wish all that for you and more, Jodianne. It has been, an hour is not enough time. Like, I feel like we need to be sitting and talking with tea and wine and cookies and
Oh yes.
plant-based treats and all the things,
And bacon.
and
And
bacon.
bacon.
Just talking more and more. But I certainly have appreciated this time just to be able to sit and chat with you in this way and learn more about the work that you're doing and what you have done. It's been an absolute pleasure. I have loved this chat, and I'm so glad that we were able to connect.
Thank you so much. Honestly, this has been awesome talking to you and Bailey. I'm really, really excited to hear this episode. And yeah, this was really fun. And I hope we get to do it again.
Me too.
Thank you.
If you want to connect with Jodianne Beckford and the Noire Girls Plant community, you can reach them on all of the socials at Noire Girls Plant or visit the website noiregirlsplant.com. Thank you to our team. Thank you, Rosanna Caban, for engineering and editing, Greg David for his design work, and Katie O'Connell for marketing this episode.
You can find out more about the work we do as People and Company, helping organizations get clearer on who their most important communities are and how to build with those people by heading to our website, peopleand.company. Also, if you want to start your own community or supercharge one you're already a part of, our handbook is here for you. Visit gettogetherbook.com to grab a copy. It's full of stories and learnings from conversations with community leaders like this one with Jodianne. Oh, and last thing, you know what it is. If you have the time and energy, we would love if you would review this podcast or click subscribe so you get the episodes. It helps more folks find out about the Get Together podcast. Groovy. See y'all next time.